All right, folks, welcome to the show today. It is Tuesday, May the 9th, yet another episode of The Right Side of Campus. You are in the right place. It's 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be your host today, Donnie Rightside, along with the big man on campus, at Jeff Nadeau on Twitter. Jeff, a lot to go over today. But first, let's take care of a little bit of business here. If you haven't logged in with us yet, follow us on Twitter at SBR Sportspicks, SBRodds.com. As you know, Jeff and I also do together the Late Night on Campus at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be on tonight as well. Like those buttons out there. Let's get after it. Big man, a lot to go over on the card today. We talked about it last night. We're real excited for today, buddy. How's it going?
Oh, just living the dream, Donnie. How you doing?
Hey, no complaints at all. I know we were up late talking, had a very good show, very fun show last night on the Late Night at Campus, going over a lot of topics that didn't even include sports. But today, Jeff, the right side of campus, you know what that means. It's meat and potatoes time. It's time to get after it and see if we can get some information out there to the listeners in order to get another W in their pocket.
Sounds good. Well, we'll talk about the whole card. A lot going on. Let's jump into it.
All right, let's see what we got here today. Going over the first, what we'll do, Jeff, Major League Baseball. We'll start off out, everybody there. Obviously, we have some hockey. We have some NBA. Big Man's also going to have a little bit of soccer entertainment for us as well. So let's get it started today on the card. Rotation, 951, 952. That's Wainwright and Straley today, Jeff. 62% of the early tickets backing Wainwright. This is an interesting pitching matchup because two guys that are looking, I mean, not even looking, but absolutely scuffling at this time. Opened up at 8 as a total down there in South Florida. Straley opens up, Jeff, as a slight favorite, minus 113. Looks like even though some late betting so far through the early morning, Chris still has him at a minus 111. 5 dimes actually up to minus 115. Some particulars in this game. 3 road starts for Adam Wainwright today. Horrible, Jeff. 7.24 ERA. Straley through 3 home starts. It's hard to believe that he's at a 2.87 ERA. St. Louis 10-2, Jeff. We've talked about this before. Versus teams with a losing record, so they're pounding bad baseball teams. Miami 5-7 at home. Jeff, Wainwright struggling. Straley at home, decent. What gives here, buddy?
Yeah, you know, this is a tough game. I mean, obviously both teams right now are hitting the baseball. You look at the last Cup 13 between these two, 10 have gone over the post total. And you mentioned it, Donnie, Wainwright. He's had major issues this year. Wainwright just doesn't have the velocity that he used to. Just not the same pitcher. He's had some injuries, some nagging stuff. And done a couple games with Wainwright. This dates back to last year, the year before. You look at in his 6 starts, 5 have gone over the total. 3 of his 3 road starts have gone over. I mean, his ERA is over 7 in 13 2/3. I mean, giving up a ton of runs, a lot of hits. His whip is very high. He just has a lot of traffic on the base pass. And, you know, Straley, been good at home, good ERA. They're winning his starts. You know, the problem I have, Donnie, is like last night, they look decent. You know, you kind of like the Marlins against the team that can't hit lefties. You know, Straley looks interesting tonight against a poor pitcher. I think maybe you just probably say, you know what, these teams should score some runs tonight. We see like a 6-4 type of game. I don't have a ton on this game. If I had to play it, though, I would lean over the total. 2 bullpens in particular in St. Louis that aren't very good. So not a ton on this game, but I would say over the total.
No, it might be one to take a look at because it looks like St. Louis, Jeff, in the past couple games has woke up a little bit here, especially being on the road. And last night it factored in. Again, I was very close, you know, narrowing down my card. Miami is one of the sides I was really taking a look at and trying to figure out how I can go about that. I ended up staying off of Miami for good reason, but it's one of those games, Jeff, you look at, can you account for a pitcher getting like 4 RBIs early? I mean, a bases loaded double to start it out. If you know, they go down and the pitcher doesn't get a hit in that spot here, could be a completely different game. But that's one of the tough things where the pitcher in Major League Baseball, especially obviously in the National League that gets the hit, what a bonus / burn that can be at any time. Last night, if you had the over or if you had St. Louis, that was a bonus last night for sure.
Yeah, I've mentioned my talk before. I hate that rule. I think that it should be even, you know, and Donnie, you look at a game like in that Cubs-Yankee game the other night. That was decided because pitchers had to hit. Yeah. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense. It's not fair. Why is one league doing one, some the other? I don't get it. I don't like it.
Yeah. Do you know what it ultimately comes down to, Jeff, why the DH is not in the National League?
Why?
It's money. It's a money spot. The DH is going to average cost you, what, 15 to 20 million to get a hired assassin in that spot. The National League won't approve it just because of overall money. And you see it when you go to a National League ballpark or an American League ballpark when they play an interleague series. You know, the American League team, when they go to and stay home, let's just say David Ortiz is your DH. When the Phillies go play in Boston, the DH is Brooks Stassi. So it's an unbelievable advantage because the American League pays for it, where the National League owners will never pay for that spot until they can come. But I agree with you there. It's unbelievable that a pitcher has to come up who can't even bat or handle the bat, basically an automatic out. But that's neither here nor there. We'll get back to the card. That's just my 2 cents on that one. I do agree with you, Jeff. I'm an old school type of guy. I like the pitching changes and stuff, but it's got to end sometime because it doesn't make any sense anymore. Amen. Next up on the docket here, Jeff Forrest, 953, 954. Samardzija and Wheeler on the mound here in New York. Two teams basically floundering around out there. 42% are backing the Giants at this point, but a little bit more money actually coming in on San Francisco. Line opened up at 7.5, has dipped to 7. Looks like across the board. Line opened up sidewise for the Mets at -115. It's dipped a little bit. If you look at 5 dimes at SBRodds.com, you're looking at about -111. Just some interesting notes on this game if you want to take a look at. 3 road starts for the Shark here, Jeff. Not very good. 6.27 ERA. Wheeler, 3 home starts, Jeff. 5.62 ERA. San Francisco 5-14 on the road after that loss last night to the Mets. Mets still shooting it around at 7-11 at home, but certainly not a pitching matchup that you're going to think of any Cy Youngs come to mind in this one. Thoughts on this one that you can lean towards, Jeff?
Yeah, both pitchers are having tough times, Donnie. As you mentioned, the Mets are having all sorts of issues. These are probably the 2 most frustrating teams in the major leagues. I mean, they're just not only having problems on the field, but off it as well, which we talked about with Matt Harvey and Noah Syndergaard. But, yeah, I mean, you look at the Mets, 20 of 27 games have gone over the total this year. They've been an over machine. We've talked about that recently. You talked about our boy Jeff Samardzija. He's had some issues. He's off a good performance, but you have to figure with Jeff, that's not something we're going to see continuously. Wheeler's not had a good go of it either. The weird thing about this game, total open 7.5, it's down to 7, which that's kind of odd. I mean, the Mets have been a total over team. Obviously, that's probably sharp money betting that under. You look at San Francisco. Last 7 games, opponents are hitting down a 305 against the Giants. I just don't understand why this line's going down. This looks like an overplay for me, but it's hard that I don't want to get involved just because of that number.
Yeah, I don't have too much on that game. If you're looking for maybe a flag that you might want to look as an indicator, it's nice that San Francisco is getting 42% of the money, 42% of the tickets and 57% of the money, and the line's not really moving there. But 2 of these teams, I mean, almost on the do not bet list if one were to be looking at these games, because it's hard to find an indicator on what you like other than who's putting their money, and the line really isn't backtracking or moving too much. So maybe something will change a little bit later today, but as of right now, not too interested in that game. Chicago Cubs and the Colorado Rockies up next, Jeff. 955, 956 on the rotation. 56% backing the home team with Freeland on the mound versus Lackey. Over under, and this one opened up at 11. Betting opened up -120, has since surged up to -138 here, Jeff, on the Cubs. Maybe they're looking, since the Cubs got in a little bit late, the game was postponed, maybe they're going to be a little bit fresher. This is, however, folks, keep in mind, the late night game at 8:40. There also is another one we're going to go over, which is a little bit earlier. Taking a look at Lackey, Jeff, on the road. Doesn't get much better. 6.90 ERA, 6.0 ERA on the road through 3 starts. 3 home starts for Freeland, 3.51 ERA. That's amazing considering, obviously, the kid's pitching at Coors Field. Cubs 7-3, Jeff, when the line hovers between -125 to -175. And Colorado 12-9 versus right-handed pitching. Looks like you might get a full-go rotation here, 1 through 8 for the Cubs. An interesting matchup. Again, it's one of those things I look for, people out there. When it's a Rockies game in Colorado, very rare to see me on a side or even a total in this one. I just don't believe there's much value. Big man, give your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I don't have any thoughts on this one, Donnie. I'm not particularly interested in talking about a game, a second game of a doubleheader. As far as the first game, I don't have an opinion on. Second game, I don't have an opinion on. I will point this out. Good point on the chat box. I wouldn't really be interested in laying this kind of number with John Lackey in Coors against a guy that has had a pretty good start to the year. For me, this series is actually the first 2 games are a pass for me. I really don't like backing doubleheaders. So I'm going to look again. If the Cubs win the first game, I would probably think in the second game we might have some value in taking the Rockies. I just don't like John Lackey.
Next game up on the rotation, 9:57, 9:58. That's Pittsburgh and the Dodgers. Nova versus Urias. Jeff, I know you're big on the Dodgers at home. You talked about it last night on the show. Should have been an easy win, an easy home win on the run line for the Dodgers last night. Destruction, terror, and mayhem from the bottom of the first on. So it was a nice pick by you on that one. 39% backing Pittsburgh, 79%, however, backing money with Ivan Nova. I can't complain on that one or say that could be wrong in that direction. It is early in the day. The over total opened up, Jeff, at 7. It's now 7.5 across the board. However, when you see those indicators, Jeff, 79% of the money on Pittsburgh. However, Urias opens up -170, has been bet to 190 at Chris on SBRodds.com. So some interesting line movement there. Particulars on the game. Nova's been great, Jeff. Last time I checked his stats, only one walk or free pass on the year, which is amazing. 3 road starts, 2.35 ERA. Urias, 2 starts, Jeff, under 1, a .84 ERA. Pittsburgh, 6-11 on the road. The LA Dodgers, a nice record at home of 11-6. Another one of those taxing games, though, when you look at it with the Dodgers. Are you willing to lay 190 on the money line? As I know the big man's going to talk about here in a few moments, the Dodgers at home with the run line, always an interesting proposition.
Yeah, the Dodgers on the run line at home are a really good play. I mean, they've been on fire lately as far as that's concerned. I got to get the numbers, but I think they've won like every other, like other than 2 games, I think they've covered the run line. Urias has been good. Both of his starts have been against the Giants. Pittsburgh, I do like Nova, but listen, I mean, I'm not betting on the Pirates right now, and I'm not fading the Dodgers. So for me, Dodgers will win, but I don't lay this kind of price.
No, yeah, just a little bit too much, Adam. I don't have much on that game. That's a 10-10 start, so we'll certainly be watching that one live as we break it down on the late night on campus tonight, so that'll come on right around that time. Let's get back into the rotation here, Jeff. 9:59 at 9:60. Carrasco, Bolsinger, 74% of the early tickets coming in, Jeff, on the Indians, along with 83% of the money. This is a road favorite again, which we've talked about, Jeff, with Cleveland many, many times. They open up at -152 and jump all the way up to -170. And Jeff, I'm getting the message here that you might be a little bit tied up here.
Yeah, I got to make a really urgent call, Donnie. Can you give me 1 minute?
Go off, man. Yeah, we'll hang in here. We got the chat box, and we'll be able to go over a lot of things in this one. We'll take a look here. Big man's going to drop off for a second, but let's go ahead with Cleveland and Carrasco and Bolsinger, as I talked about again. That's a lot of tickets backing him at 74% and 83% of the overall money. -152 on the line has jumped up at 5 times, as we just said, at -170. It's hard to lay that type of scratch, I would like to say, on the Indians as a road team, or any road team for that matter. Usually reserved for like a Clayton Kershaw going up against a Padres, which is even known to groan higher. Last night, Toronto did squeak out with the victory. Some particulars on that game, folks. 3 road starts for Carrasco, sparkling 1.83 ERA. Bolsinger is going to get his first start. I know a lot of people ask my opinions and what I think about games with teams with first starters or coming back from injury. As a generality, I don't care where the money's going. I don't care if it's a sharp play to take Bolsinger in the situation. I can't back somebody without any sort of train of thought. It's the same way as my betting profile out there, folks, in the month of April. I don't give any big ticket wagers. I just go through, see what I like, put it out, see what works. It did go 23-9, but again, it falls into that same category. You have to show me in Major League Baseball for me to put my money down on you. Going against a good pitcher, especially on the road here with Cleveland and Carrasco. It'll be an interesting one to see what follows through. I don't know, maybe you might be interesting in an 8, maybe 8.5. Looks like the total right now is at 8. Opened up at 8.5. I was correct there, but has since dropped to 8 across the board in this one. Thanks to everybody there on the chat box. Bobby, Luis Hernandez, Arthur Meade Jr., Guan is always in there, Travis Taylor. Again, if you haven't hit us up here on Twitter, Jeff and I love to talk sports each and every day. It is our passion. Follow us on Twitter, myself at RightSideVP, as well as Jeff at Jeff Nadu on Twitter. Always open to all opinions. I know a lot of people in the chat box have reached out to me. Forget about even buying a service, just going back and forth. Donnie, any indicators today you might be looking at? Am I on the right path? I'm always going to give out information, folks, because what me and Jeff do is to provide you a service that allows you to pick your own side and hopefully giving you a little bit more of information than what you had to start with. And the big man is back here, and we'll get back to the card here. Jeff, we just finished up with some Cleveland-Toronto thoughts. We know it's Bolsinger's first start. Any way to weigh in? I know our ideas of Cleveland laying 170 on the road, always not the best option, right?
Yeah, it's funny that a call came in because I usually don't do that, but it was urgent. But, yeah, I actually passed on this game. This is one game where I don't have much opinion. I will say this, Donnie. We're laying another pretty big price here with Cleveland.
Yeah.
This team can't hit right now. They're hitting 205 over the last week. It's hard for me to get involved with Cleveland right now. And Bolsinger, kind of odd. I mean, he was a guy in the Dodger organization for a while. Yeah, for me, it's a pass. Two teams that I'm just not interested in betting right now. And at this number, it's going to be a little bit till I get involved with Cleveland.
Yeah, exactly. Next game, I'm actually very interested. When I look at the overall card today, Jeff, I don't get a feeling of I'm in love with something because a lot of teams are overpriced, but there's a lot of suspect pitchers on the card. And when I talk, you see me and Jeff go over sharp versus square play. I mean, square plays win quite a bit. You just have to be on the right one that makes the most sense. On Saturday with me, I took maybe the squarest play on the board, which was the Marlins and the Mets over back when they had Gesellman and Despaigne on the mound. It covered easily. This next game might be one of those games that you might want to look at a team total. It's Kansas City and Tampa Bay with Young and Andriese on the mound. 73% of the tickets, Jeff, lining up early on Tampa Bay. 93% of the money here lining up on Tampa Bay. Minus 145. They open up. They're up to minus 160 on 5 dimes on SBRodds.com. Just an amazing number. I always like Tampa Bay at home, but Tampa Bay is usually quantified by having a sneaky number, like, maybe a minus 110 or a plus 101. This number tells you that technically Tampa Bay is the right side of the equation, even though I might not be leaning that situation, Jeff. Chris Young, we've seen him, a journeyman, 6'10" or whatever he is on the mound, throws like 85 miles an hour, very hittable. And we know the Rays can get it going at home, especially against bad pitching. If we take a look at some particulars, going over Young's first start of the season, he's had many starts in Major League Baseball, so there's certainly a book on him. Andriese at home, 4 home starts, 3.27 ERA, which is very good. Kansas City, Jeff, 2-8 playing a team with a losing record. Tampa Bay 11-8 at home. It's one of these games I haven't researched quite a bit, but I'm going to be looking at a team total in the first 5 innings with Tampa Bay. I imagine somewhere out there it's probably 2.5 in that range. I think they'll be able to sting Chris Young early in this one. Forget about even the bullpens. I think that could happen. I'm going to take a look a little bit later and try to get into this one, but I think that's the way I would be leaning into this one. Jeff, your thoughts on this one, buddy?
We should throw a party. Chris Young is back on the hill. It's been a while, but he's back. If you remember last year, if anyone listened to my show last year, I was a big proponent of fading Chris Young. He's just a guy that, early in his career, he was kind of impending. I mean, he's a big guy, kind of a lanky dude, throws hard, but I mean, he's not the same guy anymore. Chris Young of 2010 is dead and buried. And the Chris Young now has had issues. And the fact that they have to go to Chris Young on the road against a team that's been pretty good at home, it's not a good proposition for the Royals, especially, Donnie, after the fact of last night where they had so many runs. You have to figure that's not something that's going to translate. This team just doesn't hit. They're only hitting 200 on the road. They have won 12 of 15 against the Tampa Bay Rays, but that was when they were a lot better team. They're not that team. For me, I actually agree with your play. I would maybe look Tampa Bay first 5 minus a half, Tampa Bay team total over 2.5 at plus 100. I think this is a game where we could see, like last night, a lot of teams jumped out to 3-4-0 leads. This could be a game where the Rays jump out pretty early. But I got to tell you, Donnie, you look at the team total in the game at 4.5. I'm sorry, 4. You're going to lay a little juice, maybe wait for that to get to 4.5. I think they score 5+ runs in this game. Andriese, Rays, could be a good parlay piece as well.
You see a number up there, Jeff? I've been checked early, maybe on 5 dimes or whatever your local might have. Did you see an early team total for the first 5 innings?
2.5 plus 100.
Ooh, see, that's not a bad one because I can picture them. Again, if they're going to hit that 4 team total for the game, they're probably going to be more than halfway there, 3 or 4 runs. I would say, Jeff, if Tampa Bay gets the 4, I almost assume they probably get 4 through 5 innings here as long as Chris Young stays in the game. So something I'm going to keep my eye on, but I think we might be on to something here, buddy. Next game up on the ticket, 963, 964, Santiago versus Pelfrey. That is Minnesota versus the Chicago White Sox. 66% of the early tickets coming in for the Twins, minus 113 it opened up at. Looks like it's backtracked a little bit, Jeff. Pinnacle showing a minus 103. Looks like, obviously, if you flip that over, the Chicago White Sox getting 34% of the tickets and 44% of the money. Over-under, Jeff, opens up at 8.5, has since been bet to 9. It looks like across the board. A little bit of particulars here. Santiago, 2 road starts. 3.18 ERA has done his job. Pelfrey, 1 home start, only went 4 innings. He gave up 2 earned runs. Minnesota 7-4 on the road. But Chicago, we always like to talk about it, Jeff, 8-3 versus left-handed pitching. So always something to keep an eye on, as again, Santiago is a lefty here.
Yeah, and, I think the last time we talked about Pelfrey, Donnie, we actually backed him against the Detroit Tigers. They ended up winning that game fairly easily, facing a lefty. The problem I have here is with the White Sox and betting against them, they're good against lefties and they have a great bullpen. So if Pelfrey gets touch up for 2 or 3 innings, or goes 5 innings, let's say, and gives up a couple runs, they're going to come in and probably shut the game down. Santiago's been really good as well. You look at his numbers; he shut the White Sox down with a 7-inning shutout a couple weeks ago. You know, you look at the last 6 between these two; they've gone under the post total. 6 of 6 have gone under. You know, honestly, I'd almost look at under 9 here. I think, you know, if you can just give me 5 innings, Pelfrey, you know, and not get crushed, don't give up 6 runs. If you can give up 3 or 4 runs, I think this game will stay under. The Twins' bullpen's not terrible. Both these teams are under trenders. I know right now the White Sox are an over team and hitting the ball, but I feel like Santiago's kind of maybe he can figure them out. He has figured them out. Maybe the under here at 9 looks decent.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely be checking on, taking a look at that one. But it's actually funny the way the early numbers are working out here. Slight lean right now towards Pelfrey. As hard as that sounds, might be the right way to go.
Yeah, and the problem, like for me with Pelfrey, I can't stand Pelfrey. I think he's brutal. But when they're facing a lefty, it's not as bad because, you know, if he can just give you some innings, I don't ever want to really bet on Michael Pelfrey. It's just not my style. But, you know, facing a lefty, if he could just give them 5 innings, they will be in this game, I think.
Yeah, next up on the rotation, 965, 966. The young kid Myers on the mound for the Angels versus another young kid, Jarrell Cotton for the Oakland Athletics. 57% of the tickets early coming in with Oakland. Jeff, 58% of the money. So an almost even split between tickets and money coming in for Oakland. Opened up at -125. I open here, Jeff. Chris now reporting at -138. Over-under opened up at 8.5. Currently staying at 8.5. Oakland, just take a look at some of the particulars in this game. Jeff Meyer, 2 starts, I believe I have that right, 9.39 ERA for the young kid. He does have good stuff, but certainly not managing under the right conditions here. Cotton, 3 home starts, Jeff, 6.90 ERA. The Angels 6-12 on the road. Oakland sneaky at home now at 10-7 after a couple walk-off victories here. 2 pitchers, Jeff, that if you're just coming into this game and trying to cap both of them, very hard to do. Maybe you look at the total. 8.5 seems about right in the situation because those bats for Oakland every once in a while can go silent, and Myers, does have some very good stuff to see if he can get under control. But I don't have overall much on this game, any indicators that I would like to look at. I'm certainly not comfortable with laying a -138 with Jarrell Cotton on the mound, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, that's the growing trend with sports bettors in baseball. He has good stuff, so maybe he'll get it turned around. He hasn't gotten it turned around so far, and I'm not looking to bet on the fact that he might get it turned around. For me, Adam Myers struggled. 7 2/3. He's given up 8 runs, 10 hits, and 7 walks. All games have gone over. Again, has command issues, but he's also getting hit as well. Cotton had 1 good start to start the year. Since then, he's been an absolute train wreck. Look, LA's hitting right now. They're playing well. Mike Trout, I won in this lineup clearly. But 2 struggling bullpens, 2 struggling starters. It's hard for me to look anyway, but over in this game. At 8.5, this looks like a pretty high-scoring game. I know, though, with these teams, you mentioned it, Oakland does have an issue with sometimes just not showing up at the plate. But right now, at home, they're kind of in a zone. So I would lean over the total, but this will not be on my card.
Another interesting one tonight, Jeff. 3:40 start Eastern Standard Time, which obviously is 12:40 Pacific, 967, 968 on the rotation. Texas with Griffin, San Diego with our good buddy Jered Weaver back on the mound making an appearance. Is there any surprise, Jeff? 79% of the public backing Texas at this point. Line opened up at a -120, has creeped up a little bit on sportsbook.com, Jeff. You can find a -126 out there. Over-under opened up at 8. It's now at 8.5. Day games in San Diego typically are not a hitter-friendly environment for some reason. I don't know if it's the low humidity or the high humidity or whatever it is in San Diego during the day. The ball does travel a little bit better at night in that type of an environment. 4,500 tickets have been tracked in this one, Jeff. Some interesting caveats here. Griffin, 3 road starts, been good. 2.12 ERA. We all know Jered Weaver. 2 home starts, 6.30 ERA. A little bit of wind today, however, in San Diego. One of the few games that has a little bit of wind impact blowing out at 12 miles per hour, dead center field. Texas is abominable on the road. 5-12. San Diego 8-14 versus right-handed pitches, 13-20 on the season. Always tough to back a team who at the plate sometimes is on a little bit like the Oakland A's. A lot of time doesn't bring their bats to the ballpark. I don't have much on this way in the way of a leaning indicator. Texas has been terrible, but Jeff, do you back Weaver? Is it almost impossible?
Oh, so let me get this straight. At 10 o'clock a.m. on the dot at Bet Online, according to SBRodds.com, the line in this game was Texas minus 144. It's down to 120 at some points. The money's on.
Let me get a couple checks here.
People are betting Texas here. Okay, it's clear as day. This is a Texas.
Yeah, you're right. You had it up to. I had it up to minus 143 at one line just before 10 o'clock.
No sense. The public's back in Texas, but the line's dropping like a fucking sieve. It's dropping like water in a funnel. It's dropping like my 401k, bro.
Do we have a false flag in this one for you, Jeff?
No other way I can go in this game. I would go San Diego.
Yeah, definitely an interesting one.
I know Weaver sucks, Donnie. I'm aware of that. He's horrible. But
everybody knows he sucks, Jeff, right? 80%, almost 80%, which we'll get into another one next. So one of those, I'm probably going to end up laying off it. It is an early afternoon game, which thank God I got something to watch. It's fantastic. Thank you, Major League Baseball, for doing that on a Tuesday. But I don't have much interest on that one.
Yeah, all I'm saying, look.
I like your style here, Jeff. I'm not going to lie. I like it.
He's 0-6, Jered Weaver. There's 0-6 in his 6 starts. But you have to look at Texas, Donnie. On the road, they're 5-12, hitting .204. Yeah. This lineup sucks. I mean, I don't know how else. I've said that for weeks.
Smoked last night as well.
Yeah, they suck. This line smells. This is a game where everyone will bet Texas and be bitching because it's 5-2 in the 7th. Texas can't hit their way out of a paper bag, and Jered Weaver has been fantastic. It's just
Jeff. Over under on tweets that we see this afternoon. Of course, Weaver's going 4 innings and shutout baseball today so far.
And look. I think that's the general thing about bettors. Some bettors don't want to ever lose. I'm going to lose. I accept it. It's something I've accepted a long time ago. If I lose this game, I won't give a flying fuck. I am not going to bet a game with 80% of the money on the side, but the line's going down. It makes no sense. It doesn't add up here.
Yeah,
give me San Diego. If they're going to show up San Diego, it'll be at home. I would go with San Diego here if I had to.
Man, we'll be watching on that line. Next up on the docket, Jeff, 969, 970. Maybe the best matchup in baseball. Not pitching-wise, but team-wise here. Washington, Max Scherzer's on the mound versus Ubaldo Jiménez. Again, rotation 969, 970. 81% backing Washington here. 71% of the money leaves only, of course, if you can do math, which I can barely do, I can read it, though. 19% only backing Baltimore here. 8.5 is the over-under. You're going to find maybe a 9 at Chris out there, but primarily 8.5 across the board. Line opened up, however, Jeff. Scherzer at minus 155 is backtracked a little bit. If you look at Pinnacle, minus 149. You also have minus 155 at Sportsbook, so a slight spread in that one. From the open looks of it, it looks like a clear mismatch. 3 road starts for Scherzer, Jeff. He's been great. 2.08 ERA. Ubaldo, 2 home starts, an absolute sieve, 9.40. Washington 20-10 versus right-handed pitching, 7-3 after a loss, 12-5 on the road. But we all know Baltimore at home. Don't bet against them. Last night, my only wager that I released was on the Baltimore Orioles. Pulled out a nice victory yesterday, so I was very happy with that. They are now 12-3 at home, 13-4 versus right-handed pitching. Just to go over some numbers, I'm not interested in backing Ubaldo Jiménez. I'm not interested in backing Scherzer at minus 150 against a really good team at home. Another one of those indicators, Jeff, that I'm going to look at today is Ubaldo Jiménez is terrible. That Washington lineup, if it's full go, what I mean by that is 1 through 9. We don't have anybody on the bench like a Bryce Harper, a Zimmerman, a Rendon, a Daniel Murphy. As long as they're going in there, I don't know what the team total is. I haven't checked at it yet, but I will be looking for a team total Washington, since you're going to get a full 9 at-bats here in an AL ballpark. I think they really might get after him, even in the first 5 or even over 9 innings. If it's something that's going to hang around 4 to 4.5, Jeff, let's look towards Washington here on the team total. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, plus it's a Camden Yards is not exactly a big ballpark. The ball definitely flies out of there. The team total at 4.5 for Washington Nationals. I mean, Donnie, how many times over the last year or two have you looked at a score early with Ubaldo Jiménez and there's no outs and there's bases loaded in the first or second inning? I mean, it just seems like a common theme. But here you have another team where you have to figure Ubaldo's going to get jumped on. You have Max Scherzer going. This is another line that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, this line's going south as well. This line was up closer to 160. It's kind of reverting back to 150. We'll see where it goes, but that's concerning to me for sure. But as far as the Nationals, I think their bats will be just fine tonight. the problem with them is sometimes the team totals look really good, and they just don't show up for some reason. Yeah, Scherzer I'm interested in here. I'm interested in the Nationals, but again, a line that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I feel like Scherzer just commands a 170 price no matter where he is, especially against a bad pitcher like Ubaldo Jiménez.
Yeah, if you're just viewing purposes, it should be a fun game to watch because, I mean, they're two good lineups that are going to go at each other. And anytime you have Max Scherzer in an American League situation, you're going to force him to go 1 through 9. So we'll see exactly what happens in that one. But I do have my eye on that one, not specifically on a side, but maybe checking into a Washington team total. Because, again, I like it even better that it's in Oriole Ballpark down there at Camden Yards, that they're going to have the full 9 at-bats no matter what against Jimenez. We'll see what happens. And keep in mind, again, last night, if you watch that game at all, Zach Britton not on the mound in the 9th inning is a problem. Stretching that bullpen out. They do have a bullpen. I love O'Day, even though he gave up a solo shot to Harper in the 8th inning. But one of those indicators, again, that, maybe they're not so strong closing the game out. And you're going to be getting that full hammer lineup out from the Nationals here. So an interesting one.
Hey,
next up, yes, go ahead, man.
Did we talk about hockey at all last night? I can't seem to remember
when
we did that.
Yeah.
Because someone's on the chat saying here that I guess when you know nothing about hockey, it's stupid to comment on a team's playoff record. I've never talked about hockey, cuz I don't know what you're talking. I've made it clear I have no interest in hockey and know nothing about it. That's no secret on here, brother.
No, we don't do much hockey. Next up on the docket, 971, 972. Seattle Mariners, Philadelphia Phillies. Jeff Miranda's on the mound versus Eichhoff. 40% of the tickets coming in on the home Phillies tonight, except there are 60% of the money coming in on the Phillies side. So we want to take a look to see where that line is going. And it's actually going the way of the Seattle Mariners today. Minus 104. So basically a pick 'em, Jeff. It opens up with the Phillies. Minus 111, minus 113 if you check out SBRodds.com. Light ticket volume on this one, but it is an interleague special, which is most of these games that are today. If we look at the Philadelphia Phillies, Jeff, pretty scrappy at home, 8-6 overall. Seattle, we know their struggles, 5-12, even though they have won a couple games over their past couple road starts. Miranda, 3 road starts, 4.73 ERA. Eichhoff's been fine. 2 home starts, Jeff, 2.25 ERA. Are we getting some value today with the Philadelphia Phillies here?
Yeah, we might. I mean, you look at the Mariners, Donnie. We've talked about them before. They're no stranger to being bad on the road. I mean, how long have we talked about that? They just can't win away from Safeco Field or whatever they call it now. Yeah, and you mentioned, Donnie, Eichhoff has been pretty good. The concerning thing for me is how good he's been and the lack of run support, though. He's lost 5 of 6 games. They've lost 5 of 6 when Eichhoff pitches. I don't think that's because Eichhoff's been bad. They just haven't given him a lot of run support. But you look at the last 2 games for Eichhoff, 9 runs in 2 outings. He only went 5 2/3 in those games apiece. Look, it's hard for me with Eichhoff. He hasn't pitched well lately. They don't win his starts. And Miranda, actually, I do kind of like. I mean, he throws hard. He has been decent. He's not terrible. But for me, this is a pass. I have no interest in betting on the Phillies at home. I have no interest in betting on the Mariners on the road. For me, it's a total pass.
Yeah, young kid there. Miranda's going to be on the mound. He is going to have to bat. Obviously, it's a National League ballpark, so who knows how that plays into it. If he has to get on the base pass, if he walks, maybe he gets a little bit tired, not used to that environment there. But again, you've seen all the play, Jeff. One of the least bet teams in Major League Baseball, outside of the teams like the Dodgers for me or the Cubs, who just don't have much value on a day-to-day basis. One would think myself and, us living in the Philadelphia area, the Phillies might be my least bet on team that I've taken over the past 2 to 3 years, because you always call it out as well. You don't know what you're going to get on a day-to-day basis. They could be down 5-1. They come back in the 8th inning. They have a really good start. They have a poor start. The bullpen looks good. The bullpen is terrible. A feel on the Philadelphia Phillies, if you're betting just with gut, I can't imagine you're making too much money on them at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're not on my card very often. If I do, I bet the other team. So I'm not too interested in the Phillies.
Next up here, everybody's sharp play last night betting the Cincinnati Reds with Rookie Davis on the mound going against the Yankees. Didn't turn out so well. Yeah, exactly. I stayed well away from that one. Sabathia is on the mound. We all see him struggling. His last 3 starts have been awful. Edelman's on the mound. He's been serviceable. 71. Here's the one I want you to listen to on this one, folks. Early wagers here. The Yankees are always a high bet team. About 2,600 bets have been tracked so far. 71% of the tickets coming in on the Yankees but only 14% of the money. That's an unbelievable stretch there. I know it's early. It might even out as the day goes on, but that's one of the more interesting ones. Edelman actually opened up, Jeff, on Pinnacle at minus 108. He's backtracked a little bit. Looks like CC actually has swung back to a favorite at Sportsbook at minus 110. The total at 9. Some spots out there are giving out 8.5. If we look at some indications on this one here tonight, let me get to my notes on this one here if I do have them. There we go. CC, Jeff, 3 road starts, 3.37 ERA, so he has been good, but that is also predicated on his last 3 starts. He's certainly seen some regression. Edelman at home, Jeff, 2 starts, 3 ERA. The Yankees 14-2 playing versus a winning team. Might be my favorite statistic I've seen to open up baseball season so far. Cincinnati, the big red machine, is hitting and hitting well at home, Jeff, but only 1-3 versus left-handed starters this year.
Yeah, and you look at the Yankees now, 21-9. We've talked about them. We've talked about their significance right now. The one problem I have with this team, and as a fan, I'm looking at this team and saying, look, we know the lineup's good. It's been great. Their bullpen's been fantastic. But what exactly do you have in that rotation? You have guys in Severino and Pineda who've been fantastic. But how long is that going to last? Do you trust that? Do you trust that delay? Do you trust Michael Pineda in Game 2 of the ALCS if they're there? Do you trust him in the divisional rounds? Do you trust Tanaka even? I mean, Tanaka's had major issues, and then you get to the point of CC Sabathia, who was great for a while. I mean, after that alcohol substance abuse thing, he was really good for a while. But you look at his last 3 starts, I mean, he's been an absolute mess. 14 2/3. He's given up 17 earned runs, 23 hits, and 5 home runs. For me, it's very difficult to back CC right now. Way too many base runners. I do like the point about the Reds. They don't necessarily hit lefties, but they haven't faced them very often either. This is tough. I mean, Donnie, we've talked about the Yankees. It seems like the public bets them every night, and they win anyway. So, yeah, I'll pass in this game. CC for me right now is someone that this team desperately needs to give them good outings. He's not doing it. So for me, I'll pass. Yankees should win.
Yeah, Edelman doesn't have electric stuff, Jeff, like strikeout ability. So he might be one up. I mean, he has pitched well. I actually won with Edelman last week on a game that I put out. But CC Sabathia, he hasn't shown me anything in full regression, just throwing slop up there. A very light-hitting Toronto team without a lot of people in the lineup smashed him the last time out. So we'll see how that plays in the next games. 975, 976, Boston and Milwaukee, Pomerantz and Peralta. Early betting indicator, 74% are backing Boston. Not really too surprising here. Line opened up at minus 137, Jeff. Minus 135 now, Pinnacle. Minus 137 at sportsbook.com. So we have some line movement going down a little bit, but certainly with that amount of tickets there, one would think that the line would be moving higher. But again, it is Boston. They are on the road. Taking a look at some game contacts here. 5 starts for Pomerantz, a 4 ERA, 1 road start. He went 5 innings and 2 earned runs. So not a lot to work off of there with road starts for Pomerantz. Peralta, 3 home starts. He's been garbage at home, 6.43 ERA. Boston, Jeff, 5-1 in interleague action. Milwaukee, 7-10 at home. Tough hill to climb here for Wily Peralta at home going against Boston. What do you think here?
Yeah, Wily Peralta seems back to his old ways. He goes like in and out. He'll have a couple good starts and maybe get some run support and win games, but he's still a middle of the hill pitcher. He's a 4 or 5 ERA kind of guy, Wily Peralta. Pomerantz has been pretty good so far, and he's back at his old haunts, Donnie, NL ballparks, which he did well with the San Diego Padres for a decent amount of time. Red Sox are starting to hit, though, and that's something that concerns me. I like the Red Sox. They should win this game, but there's just something to say, stay away. Right now with Milwaukee, and look, the common theme today is tread lightly.
Ron back in that lineup yet too, Jeff, or no?
I don't know. I've heard maybe. I'll have to wait till the lineups come out, but that lineup is still pretty good otherwise. I'm just not crazy about laying 140 with Boston. I've made it clear I'm not a big fan of this team right now, so another pass for me.
Yeah, no, great. On Twitter, once again, folks, give us a follow at SBR Sports Picks, myself at Rightside VP, big man on campus over there at Jeff Nadeau. Follow us on SBRodds.com as well. Also, the SBR Sportsbook review right here on YouTube. If you like what we do, hit the subscribe button there. Support us. Certainly like what we give out the content and provide. Reach out to us again on Twitter. Let us know what you like, what you dislike, and how we're going. What's up, buddy?
Want to also thank all the listeners for coming on and having some fun with us. We enjoy it. It's fun. A lot of good talk on here. The great thing about the chat box is, Donnie, sometimes you see stuff on here that people are just having conversations together. It's about bringing people together, getting a common feel on something if you don't really like something, or maybe someone gives you some info that maybe you haven't heard. It's a nice little community we built here, and hopefully that continues.
No, the best part I like about the chat box, Jeff, me and you could be discussing Griffin versus Weaver, and there's a full-on conversation in the chat box about an NBA game. That's what's great about it. It's like a 24 hours. If you throw out an idea, there's a lot of sharp guys there on the live chat box. You know,
yeah,
we bounce ideas off and get information from and have a lot of fun. Yeah,
I've always been a fan of chat services.
Love it. It's
always
what keeps it going. Yeah.
You know, it makes it fun for the listener. They can kind of chat with us or whatever. And look, so we all have one common goal here with what we're doing here. So, it's fun. We'll get to everything here. Did they talk Texas, San Diego? Yes, we did, DJ and Bet. Do we want to just recap that quickly, Donnie?
Yeah, I think the recap on that one overall, DGen, is, everybody hates Jered Weaver. Nobody wants to back Jered Weaver. Jered Weaver is getting 21% of the overall tickets there, and that line is coming back. I know it opened up at Pinnacle at minus 120, currently sits at minus 127, but the real indicator here is going from minus 127 to the mid 140s, and then you start to see that line peel back there, and you start scratching your head because, again, everybody has the same thought. Weaver's on the mound. Fade him.
Right.
Jeff,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's for me. That's a grade A issue. Why is the line going and dropping like a sieve? Why is the line going backwards when all the money is on Texas? Yeah, for me, it's something that I can't get involved with. I just can't. Listen, you're shacking up with a mangy mutt here. This is the dog that comes to your door every morning for a snack, and you feel bad for him. And you maybe rescue him. This is a mangy mutt here. This is a dog you don't want to get involved with. He might even have fleas. You don't want to step to him. But at the end of the day, I just can't take Texas. They're not good on the road, and everyone and their mother's on them. So, yeah, I would go with San Diego, honestly.
Yeah, no, I hear you. 3 games left on the docket. Then we'll get to some NBA, and Big Man's going to cover some football on the pitch today. 977, 978, the Atlanta Braves and the Houston Astros. Cologne versus Morton. 74% of the people backing Houston at this point, minus 203 it opens up at. Currently sitting a little bit lower, as again, most people take flyers on anything that opens up at a minus 203 on the money line. So you got minus 183, minus 187, minus 190 out there. If you look at Chris 5 Dimes and sportsbook.com on SBRodds.com, a game that I'm not really interested in, but however, like a first 5 inning wager here, Jeff, again, looking a little bit more square, trying to make money in that market. A Houston team total, maybe first 5. I mean, we've all seen Cologne leaking oil out there. He's not going to get that escape that you have in the National League, Jeff, where you have like the pitcher batting 9th. He's going to have to go through a full go 1 through 9 rotation of that Houston lineup. If something is sitting there maybe 2.5 over the first 5 innings, I would look towards Houston here with a total. Atlanta, Jeff, dropping like a rock, in April, hovering around that 500 mark, trying to play baseball. The bottom looks like it's falling out. It's not going to get any easier here in a 3-game set with Houston. I don't have many things that I like about this game other than maybe a square type approach, looking at a team total from the Houston side, but only first 5, because I don't want to waste that last at bat in the 9th inning if it's even closer. I haven't covered that number yet. Jeff, your thoughts on this game down at Houston today?
Are we starting to see that Bartolo Colon is a fade? Are we starting to see that? I mean, I know people were, he's not that bad. Yeah, he is. He's that bad.
Minus 200 might say he's going to be a fade. Yeah, against him. I mean, Jeff, it's minus 200 versus Morton. He's not going up against Max Scherzer today.
Yeah, but from a standpoint of, is Bartolo Colon a fade? Yes, he's a fade every time he pitches. Not only do you get to face that guy, Bartolo Colon, but you get to face that bullpen who's trash as well.
In a hitter's ballpark, too.
Yeah, this is going to get ugly, I have a feeling. I think Houston puts up 7 or 8 runs tonight, easily.
Yeah, looking at Bartolo's stats, Jeff, 4 road starts, almost a 7 ERA. And again, he's going into an American League environment with a team that when they're hot and they decide to hit, this isn't exactly a strikeout pitcher, Bartolo Colon. It could get ugly. You're right on that side. Even though it is, again, I preface it by saying if you look at that game, it's a very public play to say, I'm going to take team total Houston over. I think the public's right here.
And I mean, you look at Morton, at home, he's been really, really good.
Yeah, he's been good.
24 innings. He's given up just 7 earned runs. So, yeah, I mean, he's 4-0 when he pitches. They are. And look, it's a big number, sure. But this might be a nice little Houston run line play here. This looks kind of like, to me, the game last night between the Dodgers and the Pirates. You have a pitcher that you definitely don't trust. You definitely think is going to get blown up, and a pitcher that you don't really love, but you just kind of go with it just because it makes sense. Houston on the run line looks real good here.
Yeah, next up on the docket, Jeff, one game that I have an interesting eye on in this one. I don't have a side picked out, but I might be looking totals here. Detroit and Arizona, Verlander and Ray. Early indicators, again, it's a 9:40 Eastern time start, so not many people betting the game yet. 60% coming in currently on Verlander and the road Detroit Tigers. The line opened up at -115, Jeff. Slight favorite to Robbie Ray here. Since gone down a little bit towards a pick'em. Over under at 8.5. It looks like that's 8.5 across the board. Verlander, 3 road starts here, Jeff. 8.81 ERA. Robbie Ray, 3 home starts, 5.60 ERA. Arizona's been very good at home, 12-5. Detroit scuffling a little bit on the road at 6-8. But one of these perfect storm type games, if for some reason these pitchers slip up a little bit in the first 5 innings, Jeff, is there more of a dream matchup than the Arizona versus Detroit bullpen in that ballpark out there in Arizona? I'm looking at an over in this one again, maybe a square type of opinion looking at that game early. If both of these lineups are full go tonight, not really any big names sitting, boy, that 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th could be an interesting one here.
I have to say, Donnie, I must recuse myself from this one. But I will say this. I agree with your total play. I think there's going to be some runs in this game. You mentioned it, the bullpen for both these teams, particularly Detroit. Detroit probably has the worst bullpen in the league, major leagues, which I find it absolutely amazing that year after year they go into the year with this bullpen. I mean, I remember, Donnie, like 2 or 3 years ago, they sucked. I mean, Joe Nathan, Al Albuquerque, Jabba Chamberlain, just complete bum.
Yes, if like Jeff, like a 4-run lead in the 8th, Detroit would have, and there's panic in the streets already. Yep.
It's just, I remember some of these, and a lot of them I don't bet on. A lot of times I just take the over, but it's just a clown show, that bullpen. And Brad Ausmus is oblivious. Somehow he's still the manager there. I don't really know why.
Yeah, and again, Jeff, another interesting one in that, if you look at the Detroit bullpen, I mean, they're as bad as it gets, and now they're in flux, removing K-Rod from the closer spot. Now you don't even know what situation you have, what inning you're coming in. It's just a mess out there.
Yeah, and, the problem with Arizona is, Robbie Ray I like, but he's had some issues as well. I mean, he has control issues. He's giving up too many runs. He throws hard, but again, I'll say this. I mean, how many times have we talked to it? Just because you can throw hard doesn't mean you're going to be effective. Robbie Ray's had some issues as well. So, yeah, your play on the over looks interesting.
Yeah, 2 good hitting lineups. Last game on the docket, Jeff, is actually the first game of the day. Arrieta Sensatella, that is the Chicago Cubs in game 1 of a doubleheader versus the Colorado Rockies. Split tickets here, Jeff. 51% on Arrieta, 49% on Sensatella. Opened up at a -132 here, Jeff, for the Chicago Cubs. Has since gone up into the mid-140s. You can catch -143, -140, -140, even maybe a -138 there at certain sports books. If we take a look at some action on this last game, let me just see if I have if I even did this game overall. Well, if just took, obviously, Arrieta hasn't been what he's all been cracked up to be. Sensatella's been very good. So if you take a look at the over-under again, you're getting a Rockies game at 10.5. The Chicago Cubs, to me, lucked out a little bit. Obviously, not getting that game in yesterday, so they can be rested. The bullpen can be rested. Maybe get a full go starting lineup in this one. But again, I always recuse myself. It's Colorado. I don't like to bet that game because there's way too parameters out there. I don't like it. Hey, if you hang a 9 out there and an over-under, sure, there's some value in going under. But anytime you have 10.5, 11, 11.5, I don't have much on games at Colorado and Coors Field, Jeff.
Yeah, again, I made the point earlier. The first game I don't have any interest in, Arrieta Sensatella. That's a game I'm just going to stay away from. I'll wait to see how this first game turns out. And I may actually have something on the later game. But, yeah, as far as this one, obviously the whole angle of, well, they're tired kind of goes away. So, this is a tough one. Arrieta's had some issues. Sensatella's been good, but it's Coors. So just way too many things. There's too many things going on for me today to have interest in this game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Again, not a heavy card that I would like where I have a lot of games circled so far, but as the day goes and some lineups come out, we might have a couple more feels on that. But again, some team total situations I do have my eye on would be Tampa Bay and also in that Detroit-Arizona game, just going maybe with an over, or even the Washington game, a team total leaning towards Washington. I do like the first 5 inning games because I don't even like to throw the bullpen in. If I think the pitcher is going to be a gas can, you're going to get that team total. It's probably going to hit in the first 5. If Tampa Bay is getting shut out after 5 innings against Chris Young. You're probably not going to get the team total for the full game. And the advantage I would like, obviously, is going against Chris Young. So something in that equation. But those 3 games I'm looking at, a little bit of square on my part, but I think they probably will get home. So as the day goes on, we'll check some lineups and some numbers to see what happens. Big man, before we shut down this baseball card, any thoughts for you out there, buddy?
No, as far as baseball is concerned, I have my eye on some things tonight, Donnie. As far as a free play, I'll throw out to you guys that I really like. I'll throw out San Diego. I think they're going to win today. I really do. I think from an angle of, when you come on a show, you're not coming on a show to hear the host say, yeah, just take every favorite, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes you have to look deeper into the meaning of a line and why it's doing the things that it's doing. And I've learned long enough. Look, I've talked about it. I don't really care about sharp money and that kind of stuff. But when you see stuff like this, it really makes you wonder. This looks like a great spot to back San Diego. I'm going to read into that, and I'm going to go with that here.
Yeah, decent lineup out there, too, for the Padres coming out. I mean, Margot, Spangenberg, Myers, Soliarte, Shrimp, I like to say, Hedges, Renfroe, and Cordoba. So nobody really sitting that you would be worried about in that situation. So we'll see how that one breaks down. Let's get to that NBA card today, Jeff. A huge card. Obviously, it's only one game. Spurs and the Rockets tonight. Looks like the line opened up total at 215, has been bet down to 214.5. Some 215.5 out there, actually, with Sportsbook.com. The Greeks at 215. Opening up as a favorite, Spurs -5.5. Looks like it stayed pretty much out there. -5 is at Chris, one of the sharper books. 5.5 at 5 dimes and Sportsbook.com. Any ideas or leans on this one, Jeff, with the Houston Rockets and the Spurs? Do the Spurs bounce back here tonight?
They should. I mean, at home, they should. They were in a similar spot in game 3, I believe. It was 1-1 going back to San Antonio. They kind of took advantage and got the job done at home. Listen, I think this series goes 7. I think this is a pretty even series, to be honest. I think, Donnie, you would agree this is probably the most competitive series out of all of them. There haven't been many, but this is a really good series. This is good basketball. This is good stuff. It's fun to watch. You have a team that's kind of aging, kind of plays that, we all know that Spurs tempo and pace, having some issues with injuries, but they have an elite player in Kawhi Leonard against an elite player in James Harden. I like the Rockets. I do like the Spurs, though, as well. And I've made it clear. I'll make it clear again. In games like this, kind of with their backs against the wall, I'm not interested in betting against Greg Popovich. Will I have money in this game? Probably not. This is something I'll watch and enjoy. I will look at maybe a total play. Maybe we'll see where the steam goes. But I think San Antonio will win this game.
No, should be an interesting one. I'll definitely be checking in. I don't like to watch the NBA playoffs too much. Again, I'm not the biggest NBA fan, but I do like offensive basketball. But again, we're all just waiting for that Golden State-Cleveland matchup. It's going to be one of the highest-rated finals, even in the cable, post like 90s cable surge where there's so many channels. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The two teams hate each other. Hopefully they can get there both without injuries. And we'll see what happens on that one. We'll close down the NBA on there. I know there's some football pitch action today that you have, Jeff. Get to it, brother.
Yeah, a lot of talk on the chat here about football, a lot of soccer stuff. And look, I'm not going to continue to talk about my love affair of Juventus. I root for Juventus. I've liked Juventus since, really I've started watching soccer. And for anyone that's asked why I like Juventus, when I was growing up, my best friend was from Sicily, and we would watch soccer constantly. He liked Inter Milan. I kind of just got into Juventus. It was just a team that I just started rooting for. And I've always had a connection with Italian football just because when I was in high school, they won the World Cup. And again, my friend was Italian, so we love this team. And, being Albanian, we're not far away from Italy. We have a lot of cultural similarities. And I've just always really loved Juventus. But, I've made it clear I don't think Monaco will score. And I was laughed at. People have made fun of it. But, again, I'm 90 minutes away from cashing that bet. And, Donnie, you look at, first of all, the dominance of Juventus at home. They haven't given up a goal in Europe, in UEFA competition as far as Champions League in 621 minutes. And it's not like they're facing like Rostov and Anderlecht. They're facing Barcelona, Monaco. They're facing teams that are really elite attacking wise. You look at Monaco. If they were going to score in this competition, it had to have been at home. Juventus at home, they haven't lost a game as far as competition-wise since the start of last season. They haven't lost by 2 or more since 2013 at home. I mean, we have to talk about how dominant they are at home. Turin is a terrible place to play if you're in opposition. And I saw someone mention earlier in the chat box that the fans may become restless in Torino or in Turin because of no action. This is Italian football. No one's worried about goals. People that watch Italian football, they watch it because of the tactical, the defense. This is just an elite defense. And I want to shout out one of our friends on the soccer show, Martin Green. We looked at kind of the defense, and he made a point that just the way Juventus plays defense, it makes it very hard because they don't allow the striker to get into the box. Mbappe really has to – he's trying to get into the box and head them in and do things like that. They play 4 back in front of Buffon, so it makes it really difficult. They don't allow a lot of space between the goal and the 4 in the back, so there's just not a lot of room. There's a lot of – the spacing's perfect. Chiellini, Bonucci, Barzagli off the bench. They're just an elite defense, and they don't allow you to score. For anyone that says they're going to kill them on the counter, I would agree. They probably will, but I don't think they're going to score 3 goals in this game. I think Monaco will obviously go for it, but at the end of the day, I think they're a gimmick, and I think they're going to struggle again in this game. This is the first time really in a while that they've been relevant. Mbappe is a great player. I think he's a top 10 player in the world right now, and I think he's going to get a fat paycheck here in the season, in the summer. But as far as Juventus, I think they're the best overall team in the world, and I don't think they're going to allow a goal today. So for me, I would look under the total. They might get a goal on the counter, but with Monaco not scoring, I just don't think Juventus scores 3 goals here. So for me, I would go under 2.5.
There we go. Nice clean show today with Major League Baseball, some NBA talk, and also some football pitch talk there. Follow us at SBR Sports Picks on Twitter, at RightSideVP, at Jeff Nadu as well for the Big Man on Campus. Also check out SBRodds.com. Follow us tonight. We'll be breaking it down again on the day's action, the Late Night of Campus at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button down there if you like and appreciate the show. Also give us a follow on SBR Sportsbook Review. Click the subscribe button there if you like what we do. But that's going to run out of time for the show. Nice little compact hour here of information. If you want to reach out to us on Twitter, please feel free to do so. Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, one other thing quickly. I want all of you guys, and I know maybe if you don't like me, root me in. I have a side bet that Juventus won't allow a goal today. So root me in on that. And you can laugh at me when it loses, but I'm having fun with it. It's 5-1. I'm really hoping I can cash it and we can have some fun with it. So I'm going to be on the edge of my seat. And obviously, I'm excited. So, yeah, fun show today. Appreciate everyone chiming in and having some fun here. I saw Natalie Rodsham on the chat box. Thank you for listening, Natalie. We always appreciate you. Sean, Arthur, Seth Hagen, our boy, he's on there. Bobby, Tho Marino, everyone. Thank you for listening. We appreciate it. Have a great day and good luck.
Thanks, fellas.